All right. Welcome to the Viking Age podcast. I'm your host, Adam Patrick, the editor for thevikingage.com, where we cover the Minnesota Vikings. I'm joined by my host, Chris Schad, who writes for us here at the Viking Age, as well as zone coverage. Bring me the news and the Brookings Register. I always question myself, right? Brookings Register?
You got it
Yep.
right.
All right.
Yeah,
I
and
always.
part-time page designer at the Brookings
There we
Register
go.
this
There we
week.
go. There we go.
So,
Just a
yeah,
jack of all trades. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Greatly appreciate you do that. Follow the Viking Age on Twitter and Facebook. And also this podcast is available in the audio version on Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Go check that out. All right, it's been a while since I had a little trivia to start the podcast. I figured I'd get some draft related because I found this out when I was writing something yesterday. So the Vikings had 6 selections in this year's NFL draft, their lowest, quite a long time. Rick Spielman known for having 19 picks per year during his tenure. No, more closer to 10, but around there. Do you know when the last time was that the Vikings had fewer than 6 picks in an NFL draft?
gosh, I want to say 2013 because they traded up a whole bunch. Is it 2013?
Nope.
They wound up with 3 firsts, but
It is not. It is not in the 2010s.
oh, it's not in the 2010s.
No.
It's Brad Childress era though, right?
Yes.
2006.
Ooh, close. But they did have. They only had 6 that year, but in 2009 they had 5. Um, Another question: do you remember who their top pick was in 2009? He won Rookie of the Year.
Oh, Percy Harvin.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when you said Rookie of the Year, that threw me off because I was going to say Toby Gerhart, but that was the next year. And I think Cook was Tate Gerhart.
Yep. They had
don't
two.
remember.
They had 2 second round picks. Why didn't they have a first?
Out of the first round. Disappointed.
Oh, they did. They did. Okay. Yeah.
They traded out of the
Rick
first.
Spielman is.
Yeah.
Yep. They got Chris. Yeah. Well,
Toby
2010 they got
Gerhart,
Chris.
who
Yeah. Great guy. He rushed for less than 2,000 yards in his entire career, which wasn't that long, anyways. But Everson Griffin was in that class, so he was the 4th round pick for the Vikings in 2010. But in 2009, they only had 5 picks. They had actually a lot of them played for a good amount of snaps for the Vikings. They had Percy Harvin in the first round. Obviously, he had some good years with the Vikings. Phil Loadholt in the second round, Asher Allen in the third round, Jasper Brinkley in the 5th round, and Jamarcus Sanford in the 7th. So 4 out of those 5 guys played more than at least 75 games. So seems like pretty good draft. As far as
you would take it.
contributors go, yeah. If that's what the Vikings are going to get out of this year's class, I would for sure take that. I did see before we get started that the guy you just had in your podcast, Eric from NFL.com.
Eric at home,
Yes. Not a fan of the Vikings draft class this year. What do you give him, a D plus? And that's the worst grade of any team in the NFL in the draft that he gave.
He seemed so optimistic when he was on my show too.
So,
he I don't know if he was just trying to be nice, but I mean, you could see it both ways because the way Eric had talked, he had said, this is a class that's going to pay future dividends. Like it's all about they wanted them to contribute now, but in like 2 or 3 years, like they're going to be full contribers.
Right.
I don't know. I
think a D plus
is class.
Yeah, I think a D plus is a little harsh though. Right after the draft, like you really don't know. So he must have really not liked.
Go back and read the 2020 grades.
I did.
Like there's a football outsiders report card.
He didn't like Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
I went back and found his Yahoo article, his draft grades. He said his least favorite pick of the Chargers was Justin Herbert. He gave them a C minus or something. He gave the Eagles a C. and he said his favorite pick was Jalen Reagor, and his least favorite pick was Jalen Hurts. So like,
but I mean that's every. But
it is.
we sound like we're just dragging. Eric's awesome, by the way. I want to get that out there because he helped me with an article on Tucker Kraft, who now plays for the Packers. And you know, we kind of talk back and forth. I'm like, let's get you on the show, and that's why I want him on, because I wanted to see how national people like this class. Because if you ask anybody with the Vikings, they're just going to be like, oh yeah, I love this guy. I watched this guy on YouTube, like the Just Bombs productions, like rap never gave me a scholarship. And then it's like the techno, like Sandstorm remix, like, and then like, you know, it's like, yeah.
No, he's
that was off the rails.
I said this. I wrote an article about it, and I said it in the article, like, he's, you know, one of the most knowledgeable draft minds out there, and just, you know, draft grades are hard and people get things wrong all the time. Look at Mel Kiper. He's been in the game for 40 years. He gets a lot of things wrong. But that doesn't like mean you know any less about the draft. Mock drafts and draft grades are just a crapshoot. They really are.
I also question Mel Kiper's breakfast choices, but that's another conversation.
Pumpkin pie, no crust. Uses 12 cans of whipped cream a week. Goes through like 2 or 3 whole pumpkin pies. You know what he does?
Cans.
You know what he does?
Cans. It's not even the good stuff.
No, do you know what he does with his pizza too?
I don't want to know.
He takes the cheese off and dips the pizza in mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Oh my god. What? Yeah, he's if he wasn't a draft guy, I'd believe
he's what it is.
He's like he could be like a serial killer. Moving on. Adam Thielen. He's been going around.
He's from Minnesota.
Podcast. Yeah, he's been promoting a hot dog brand, Ambassador Hot Dogs, a couple podcasts, getting the name out there. Apparently, he's got a sponsorship with them. Seems like probably gets a bunch of free hot dogs. Good for him, because you know he can't afford them anyways. So he went on a bunch of podcasts. He went on, I want to say, he went on, where did he go? He went on The Scoop with Doogie. He went on Purple Insider with Matthew Collar, and he went on Star Tribune's Daily Delivery, and he might have gone somewhere else too. But on the Star Tribune podcast, Daily Delivery with Michael Rand, he was asked about, you know, kind of like how things kind of went down as far as his departure from the Vikings and how that kind of happened. And so his response was, quote, "I like to think there's two sides of it. It was a bummer. I didn't want to leave Minnesota. I wanted to end my career there. Obviously, that would be the perfect fairy tale way to do it, right? But that's not reality." And then he went on to say, "I don't think there was ever a point where I was unhappy with what I was doing with the Vikings, you know, last season. It was just pretty clear that they had a different vision for me than maybe I had for a way that I could help the team win games. There wasn't a wrong thing. There wasn't disrespect on either side. I just think it was just time for both sides to move on," end quote. Chris, was this, quote, different vision the Vikings had for Thielen related more to usage on the field or his bank account?
Tell me you weren't happy with your role without actually telling me you weren't happy about your role. That quote kind of goes both ways. And, you know, honestly, I just gotta be okay. So I am like unhinged today. I just want everybody to know that I got my Roman Reigns wreck everyone and leave shirt on because I got home from the gym and I was just like unhinged and I saw it. I'm like, perfect shirt for today's podcast. It'll work out because I don't know. When I first heard that Adam Thielen was going around doing this media tour or whatever again, I just channeled my inner Roman Reigns. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. You didn't like your role. Got it. Go away forever. Go away. No, you can come back and you know, we'll put your number in the Ring of Honor. We can have you. Everybody's there. He's from Minnesota. Did you hear he's from Minnesota? Yeah. Like, but mother of bleep, like I'm just tired of it. I'm tired. And you know what? If he wanted more passes to get thrown his way, that's fine. That's totally fine. This is Minnesota passive aggressive. Like you know, they just had a different vision for me. Like we've been doing this since January where his family member started putting posts on Instagram like, we're leaving Minnesota.
Well, he went on First Take too.
Yeah. Right? And then he goes on first. I was about to get that. He's on Super Bowl and he's like, they're trying to do stuff to my contract, guys, like everything. And like he went on Pat McAfee, and Pat McAfee's like, yeah, Adam, yeah, you're the number one receiver, man. Yeah. You ever thought about pairing up with Aaron Rodgers? Yeah. You used to read some of his books, man. Yeah, dude. Yeah, bro. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this. Like, it's fine. He's gone. It's okay. Like, I hope he and everybody else is as happy as can be catching passes from Andy Dalton in Carolina, like he said he was going to. Andy Dalton also is QB1 in Carolina right now and not Bryce Young. So that is something interesting.
For now.
Just, I'm like flustered about this because I am tired. I am tired. I will put it that way. Just, I don't know. I am focused on who is here. I am focused on Justin Jefferson. I am focused on Jordan Addison. I am focused on KJ Osborne, who I think we'll talk about in a little bit. Like, that is it. That is the future. If you didn't want to be here, that's totally fine. Get it. Like, everybody wants to contribute. Everybody wants to play. But I mean, this tour, and I get that the main thing of this tour was not to go around and get in front of everything. It was to sell hot dogs, which I am pretty sure Adam Thielen has not eaten a hot dog in the past 5 years. But hey, if they're willing to pay you and your kids like hot dogs, why the hell not? Right.
Yeah.
I am tired. I'm tired.
Well, at first when I saw he was on like the Star Tribune podcast, I was like, oh, nice get. Like, maybe he'll actually say some things because it's not a Vikings.com podcast, and he'll actually like say some actual things with, you know, context or actual stuff to be interesting. But then I saw that he was on a bunch of other podcasts. And I'm like, oh, okay. This is all calculated. This is all planned. Like, if you listen to one of his appearances, you listen to all of them, because he basically said the same thing about, oh, I love Minnesota. I wanted to be there. I wanted to retire a Viking, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know,
I know somebody who didn't, but
things just didn't work out. And, you know, I remember, you know, what his wife said about like how he wanted to be able to prove himself and get better opportunities or something along that lines. Sorry if I'm misquoting her or whatever. Not really.
She's like Adam Thielen without the filter, right? Like, there's Adam Thielen who's damage control. I have to be in that locker room possibly. And like, hey, I wasn't unhappy with my role, whatever. And his wife's like, yeah, he was pissed. Like, and I know that's not exactly what she said, but I mean, he's pissed. He wants to catch more passes. He thinks he has more, you know.
Yeah,
that's basically what it is.
I think she knew that things were pretty much over when she said those things. I don't think she would have said those things if she didn't think that he was coming back, because that would have been awkward. But yeah, like, and then the things that he's saying, like, you know, they had a different vision for me and everything. I'm like, well, what was the vision? You had the second most targets. What are they not? What are they gonna do? Not give the ball to Justin Jefferson? I know he praised Justin Jefferson a lot, like he should get paid whatever amount, you know, they give him. But like, what did you want him to do? Like, you couldn't get open. You can't get open anymore, man. You're old. Like, you can still catch the ball, but like, you struggle to get open. That's why they traded for TJ Hawkinson. That's why they, you know, went to KJ Osborne more, because you couldn't get open. And that's why they let you go. And that's why they replaced you with a younger version of you who is a great route runner, who's faster, who can get open, because you couldn't. And then he's going to Carolina, where he's not going to be the number one target. They got DJ Chark, Hayden Hurst, Miles Sanders, like all these guys that are going to be targets in their offense. I know these aren't like huge names or anything.
He could beat out DJ Chark. I will say that. It would not surprise me to see Adam Thielen put up 1,000-yard season.
Oh, for sure. But I'm saying, like, he's not going to be the you know, the Justin Jefferson of the Panthers offense. I don't think so. Especially with Frank Reich, who likes to run the ball. So I think, you know, he's gonna. I don't know. Everyone's like, oh, he could get 1,000 next year and have a breakout year. And I'm like, yeah, he could, but he hasn't had 1,000-yard season since 2018, and he's been the number one or number two guy. He's been Kirk's favorite target since like the middle of last season. So like, It's not like he hasn't gotten opportunities to make plays. He can't do it anymore. And I think
there have been times I've watched and been like, I think he likes throwing to Thielen more than he does
Yes.
Jefferson. Like, especially in the red zone. It's like, where's 19? Where's 19?
Which is he's perfect for the red zone because he can get can get open in short spaces. But if the field's spread out, teams have no problem keeping him covered. But if he's in a short space, like 10-yard line, 15-yard line, fine, you can use him that way. Other than that, though, like I don't know what he expects. Like he's gonna come out and be like, I'm in the best shape of my life and all that stuff. We're gonna hear all the same things. I'm ready to roll. This team, I think we can beat for championship this year. He's gonna say all those things. So we should just prepare ourselves now. Just a question on this before we get out of here. Who will have the better PFF grade in 2023? Thielen or you want to say something else before you do this?
No. Go ahead. I'm yes, and I'm glad you're asking this question because that is my article for zone coverage tomorrow. Because Adam Thielen said something very interesting on the Purple Insider podcast, where Matthew Coller asked him, "Hey, what did the media get wrong while you were here?" And, you could maybe see Adam Thielen go on there like, I'm not washed. I got to play a game left, blah, blah, blah. He didn't do that. He basically pumped up KJ Osborne and said, he said he's a good teammate. A lot of people have said that. He also said that he thinks that KJ Osborne could be a wide receiver 1 in the league. And I started thinking about that a little bit. Like, you and I have said this before. Like, I don't think anybody wants to slam KJ Osborne because I think he's a very solid.
There's one person in Twitter third receiver.
The junior reporter. That shall remain nameless. But I mean, in Kevin O'Connell's offense, I think that Jordan Addison's a better fit for the role than KJ Osborne because Alec Lewis noted this all the way back in December when KJ Osborne didn't have a lot of stats. I think it was right before the Detroit game that the Cooper Kupp role, which has been trademarked by Sean McVay's offense, Cooper Kupp not only was a big time receiver, he was a big time run blocker. And you obviously don't want to have Justin Jefferson run blocking all the time because Vikings fans would literally burn down the city. They've had to use KJ Osborne in that run blocking role, and it's limited his opportunities. So his opportunities don't come. So really, then a matter of more opportunities, it's getting the most out of those opportunities. You saw that against the Colts, where KJ Osborne exploded for 10 catches for 150 some yards.
The Lions too. In overtime. Lions too. He caught the game-winning catch in overtime, right?
I think that was late in the fourth quarter. I was at that game.
Overtime.
No,
I thought it was. And last year, the Panthers
game
was overtime.
You're thinking of the Panthers game. Your brain's stuck on Carolina. Adam Thielen did that to you. But I mean, you look at Addison. He's a great route runner. He's a yards per route run machine at USC and Pitt. KJ Osborne has never been that yards per route run guy. But if you have Justin Jefferson on one side, you have Jordan Addison on the other, and Addison is effective. That opens things up. I mean, defenses are going to be like, let's stop those guys. And KJ Osborne's going to be like, I'm open.
Hopefully.
And Kirk will find it. Yes. Hopefully he's open. Hopefully Kirk finds him. And I don't think KJ Osborne's going to put up 1,000 yards in this offense, but he could do what Van Jefferson did a couple of years ago with Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Odell Beckham sliding in there. He had 800 yards and I think it was 7 touchdowns. That's a pretty good year. Yeah. So I think that, maybe wide receiver 1's a little bit exaggerating, but I think that KJ Osborne hasn't shown the type of receiver that he could be. Now, to answer your question, who will have the biggest PFF grade? Man, I just think Thielen will have more opportunities, but
that's fair.
If Osborne is more efficient, he'll have the higher PFF grade.
I didn't realize KJ Osborne.
So I think that will happen.
I didn't realize he's almost 26 already. It seems kind of old.
He was 23 when he came into the league because he was a grad transfer at Miami.
So on KJ Osborne, I wrote something about him yesterday because the NFL's Twitter account decided to not include him in their graphic. They're like, these 3 teams improved their receiving core in the draft, and it was like the Vikings with Jordan Addison, Chargers, with the kid from TCU,
Quentin Johnston.
Yep. And then the Seahawks with Jackson Smith and Jigba. And they all had 3 in them, except for the Vikings, which only had Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. I'm like, AJ Osborne's good enough to be in there. Like, and I checked it out yesterday. Since 2020, I think there's been 98 receivers drafted. KJ Osborne is one of 11 of those receivers who has had at least 110 catches and 1,300 yards in the last 3 years. So he's able to be the number 3 in that graphic. So,
and you would take that.
Yeah. And he was what, a 5th round pick, who didn't get a single snap as a rookie. That might, they might have needed his help a little bit as a rookie and not just have him return punts, which clearly wasn't a strength of his. But you said Thielen for PFF grade probably higher because he's going to get more opportunities. I picked PFF grade because I think if you just go by stats, I think it's easy to pick Thielen because he's going to have targets. But like I went PFF grade because I feel like that's more based on overall.
How about we do this? I think KJ Osborne will have more yards per route and run than Adam Thielen will.
My grandma will have more yards per route run than Adam Thielen.
But that's a metric I like because how much are you running a route and how many yards are you getting when you run that route?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll play devil's advocate and go with KJ Osborne because I just think Adam Thielen's got to learn a completely new offense. He's going to have a completely new quarterback. Is he going to stay healthy? KJ Osborne can stay in the same offense for first time in his career. Same quarterback. More help in the offense to help him get open. So I think he's got some things in his favor to have a productive year. I think, is next year a contract year? No, he's got two years left because he was 20. No. Next year is a contract year because he was drafted 2020. Mm-hmm. So that's something to keep in mind too. Contract year guys are usually pretty good because they want to make that money in the next year.
How about this for a bold prediction? Do the Carolina Panthers sign KJ Osborne next year?
Oh boy, loading up,
guys! He's a wide receiver
Super
1.
Bowl.
He's a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Be like, thanks, Adam. I'm receiver 1 now. You said I could do it, so here I am.
Like the Dwight and Angela meme. Adam Thielen, wide receiver 1. KJ Osborne.
Hey, whoa. Where'd you come? Switching over to the defensive side of the ball. I think we've all assumed that Za'Darius Smith isn't coming back. Just mostly because he put out a goodbye message in March or February. I can't remember when it was exactly. He's just like, thanks, Minnesota. It was a great time. And everyone's like, and the Vikings are like, whoa. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
And he's like, what?
Are you breaking up with me?
Yeah. So he's still under contract with the Vikings. There's been plenty of reports that the Vikings are listening to trade offers and stuff or whatever. But on the latest Scoop with Doogie episode on Score North's network, KSTP's Darren Wolfson revealed the following about Za'Darius Smith. He said, the Vikings would like him to be in Minnesota. He would like more money. He hasn't been in town for workouts. He would welcome his release or a trade. And then Doogie said that he thinks there's still some massaging that can happen there and that Brian Flores would love to have Za'Darius Smith on Minnesota's defense. How big of a priority is bringing Smith back for the Vikings, do you think?
Well, I think you have a big drop-off between Smith and
Patrick
I almost
Jones.
call him Sheldon Richardson. No, not Patrick Jones.
Davenport?
Who's that? Marcus Davenport, who they signed in free agency. I think there's a big drop-off there. And if you trade Smith, there's a couple of things that are like problematic here. First, if the Vikings trade Smith, that team has to rework his steal. That was according to Albert Breer. Albert Breer also said during the draft that teams would have to give up 2024 draft picks for him now.
Yep.
And that nobody wants to do that because this draft class apparently is just unbelievably loaded. Every round, every pick, every round, future Pro Bowler. No, but I mean, there's just more buzz behind it. Like guys don't want to trade their picks. So, like the team that would trade for Smith, you're seeing the same thing with Dalvin Cook. They're saying, no, we wouldn't give you like a higher pick for Za'Darius Smith because we have to pay him. We have to give up draft capital in this draft everybody loves. So it's like, why not just keep him at that point? Why not just give him the money? If you have the cap space to do it, just go, hey man, we'll raise your base. We'll give you a bonus, something. And I'm sure Za'Darius, like, you also run into a problem here, though, if you do that, because Za'Darius Smith kind of did that in Green Bay, I think, a couple years ago. And then, like, he played one game and he's like, back screwed. And he didn't play again until the divisional round of the playoffs. Now, the Vikings have insurance for that with Davenport signing here. But I think that Smith, really it's a fickle situation, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm curious to see because obviously they're going to sign Justin Jefferson to an extension. They're probably going to sign TJ Hawkinson to an extension. Who knows what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins? Something could still happen with that. They need money to do that. And I think they're going to get some from whatever they do with Dalvin Cook. They're going to clear up some space with that. I think if they need to clear up some more cap space, Za'Darius Smith's probably just going to be gone. And I think I don't know. It is weird because you would love to have Danielle Hunter. That's another extension they got to do. They need money for that. I didn't even think of that. You would love to have Danielle Hunter, Marcus Davenport, and Za'Darius Smith as your pass rushers in your defense, obviously. But you paid Davenport what, $13 million? That's basically what Za'Darius Smith is making right now. So you're gonna go turn around and pay Za'Darius Smith more money and then split snaps between those guys. So I don't even know if it would work, like how that would even work on a playing time scale. I know Flores would love to just have them all on the field at once, but it's not too logical to really do that. It can happen. It would be easier if Davenport was like on a rookie contract still, I feel like. But he's not. They signed him to.
Has Davenport played defensive end, like a down lineman too, though? I feel like he has.
He hasn't stood up. Like he's been on a 3-point stance or whatever, hand in the dirt guy like his whole career. And he's had a couple of. There's been times where he stood up and done well, but like this will be like his first standing up official role if he does that, because he's been a defensive end his whole career. Now he's an outside linebacker technically. So I don't know. I just think there's too much money that you can clear up by getting rid of Za'Darius Smith. Maybe you can clear that up by adding void year, but like how many times are you going to add void years to guys' contracts? Like, I don't know. It's a weird situation, and maybe the Vikings are just waiting for June 1st to be like, okay, nobody wants to trade for you. We're just going to let you go. And Za'Darius Smith's going to realize he's not going to make as much money on the open market that he's probably going to make just staying put with the Vikings. He would have made more maybe in free agency earlier this year, but I don't think so anymore. So Za'Darius Smith, if he is gone, he would rank in the Pro Football Reference approximate value metric. He would finish with the third highest Pro Football Reference approximate value for a player who only spent one season with the Vikings. Do you know who the two players are that finished with higher approximate values in their lone seasons with the Vikings?
I was going to say Brett Favre, but he played 2 seasons with the Vikings, so that wouldn't fall in there. Trying to think who were one-hit wonders with the Vikings. Were they all free agent signings?
Yes.
They would have to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both quarterbacks. I'll give you that.
Quarterbacks.
Warren
Moon was here for 2 years.
He was here for 3, I think.
Was here for 3? Was Jeff George?
There's one of them. Yep. He's second.
Okay. I have to think it was the Dennis Green quarterback. And was this one?
Right there. It's recent.
Oh, Case Keenum.
Yeah. He had the best single season of a Vikings player in 1 year. who only spent 1 year with the team. I think he had a 14 approximate value for Pro Football Reference, which is very high if you're familiar with that metric. So yeah, Case Keenum, Jeff George, who was 98. He came in midway. 99, and he came in midway, and then lost to the Rams in the playoffs. And then Za'Darius Smith is third. So he played well. And some of the other ones were like, I think it was like Corn Robinson. It's just like some random running backs and stuff. Mike Wallace was in there, like at the bottom. But yeah, it just doesn't happen often. But sometimes guys come in, play really well, they go somewhere else. It could be the case for Za'Darius Smith. So our last topic will kind of look back at some of the picks the Vikings made in the draft. I published an article on the Vikings today called, 3 picks that the Vikings got right, and 2 that they will probably regret. And I based this on Arif Hassan of Pro Football Network's his consensus board that he put together. That's consists of like all the draft industry experts' opinions and big boards and mock drafts. And based on that, I came up with my people for each choice. But I just want to ask you, which 2023 draft pick do you think the Vikings got right out of the 6 that they made this year?
See, this is where the page design comes in, because I thought about this, but I haven't thought about this hard enough. I think the best pick they made was Dwayne McBride. Like, I honestly do, because I think you need to get younger. You need to get cheaper at running back. And Dalvin Cook was not effective. I don't care if it was a shoulder injury that he chose not to get fixed for 2 or 3 years. Like, his agent is kind of grandstanding about right now. Dwayne McBride is a running back that excels at yards after contact. If he can get the passing game down, I think he'll be very good. Plus, it's the running back by committee. I mean, everybody talks about finding your Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Everybody now is trying to find their Isaiah Pacheco, because the Chiefs got him in the 7th round, and he's like one of the top running backs. I wouldn't say top running backs in the league. He's the top 10 back, but you're paying him like $500,000 or whatever it is. Like that's basically it. So I think that if there's one pick they got right, it's Dwayne McBride late. Although I would hear a case, obviously, for Jordan Addison in the 1st round. But I think that was the best value pick the Vikings had in the draft.
Definitely was. Even on the scale that the consensus board pick scale, because McBride was, I think he was, I'm looking at it right now. He was 139th on the consensus big board, which is a 5th round pick. And the Vikings selected him with the 222nd pick in the 7th round. So the Vikings had 2 5th round picks. I don't think they had a pick in the 6th round. And they were probably like, McBride's not going to be there. He's going to be gone by the time we get there. And they came their pick, and they're like, okay, we're going to take him, because we didn't expect him to be there. And yeah, I think he was 3rd or 2nd in the nation in rushing last year. He averaged like 7.4 yards a carry. That wasn't like a fluke year thing too, because the year before he had 1,300 yards and he averaged like 6.9 yards a carry too. So he gains lots of yards. He's not a Leroy Horde kind of guy. He's going to get you yards when he gets the ball in his hands. So I like that pick a lot too. I think they got a lot of good value out of that. Of course, I'll go with Jordan Addison, because I think his consensus big board ranking was like 23rd, and the Vikings or 24th, and the Vikings got him at 23rd. So it's just right on the dot, right where everyone thought he was going to go. So that shows you that the Vikings made the right decision according to the draft experts. I just think he's going to be a good fit for the Vikings as well, because he's a great route runner. He'll be able to complement Justin Jefferson really well. I think, what's his name? That guy who's the head coach of the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, will be able to.
We're both be able to. Names all over
I still
the
place. I got Puerto Rico brain in my. I got Bad Bunny playing in my head, like just.
You've been blasting Chambea since
I've watched
Saturday.
that intro so many times.
I don't even listen to
I don't know what he's saying.
Like everybody knew the words. Everybody would sing the words. I'm like, this rules.
I looked at the songs like 5 years old, and Ric Flair's like in the video or whatever. I didn't know that. But I've been listening to that and Booker T by him a lot too.
Yes.
Yeah, that was awesome. But back to football, not Puerto Rico, not backlash in Puerto Rico. But yeah, I think Jordan Addison. I feel like it's the first round pick, but sometimes first round picks aren't like a guarantee. And I think you can look at someone like Jordan Addison and Laquan Treadwell. I think Jordan Addison's chances of success are much higher than Laquan Treadwell's are, especially in this Kevin O'Connell offense. So I think the Vikings will get that right. Which pick do you think the Vikings will regret the most when looking back in a couple years?
So our friend Eric Edholm said it would be Mekhi Blackman. He was not a big Blackman fan. I'm not so sure about. I mean, that could blow up in their face
Right.
just because he is a little bit older. He didn't do too well at Colorado, but he was also in a very bad system there. I think the one pick that could kind of blow up in their face is Jay Ward, the corner out of LSU. He's kind of a guy that can play a lot of positions, but is he a jack of all trades or a master of none? If he can lock down that slot corner position, which has been a problem for the Vikings this year, I think that it would be huge for this defense. The problem is he hasn't played it full time, so there's going to be a learning curve there. So I would go with Jay Ward. I'd also hear Jay. How do you say it? Jaquelin? Jaquelin. Aaron. J. Roy. My guy, J. Roy. Yeah. He could also be it too, because he was a guy that was regarded. He's kind of like the Wyatt Davis of the defensive line when you think about it.
Don't put that on him.
That was a guy who was a first round pick, and then all of a sudden he was there in the later rounds. And although Wyatt Davis had a more like bigger free fall than Roy did, because Roy's happened over the course of the year. Davis has happened in the course of like 3 months. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this guy can't.
Justin Fields made him look very good.
That he did.
I'm going to go with Mekhi Blackman. I agree with Eric on this one. Because looking at the consensus board, doing this last night, it made me realize like how big of a reach it was for the Vikings, because the big board rated him as a 6th round pick, and the Vikings got him in the 3rd round. It was the very last pick of the 3rd round, so you could still say, you could be like, oh, it's basically a 4th round pick. Okay, fine. It's still 2 rounds earlier than anyone thought he probably should go. And you look at his PFF grades, and he's great in man coverage, he's great in zone coverage or whatever. Had good PFF grades, but he's small. He's like the same size as Jordan Addison, and he had to make up for that by being aggressive in college, and that led to him getting flagged 7 times, penalties last season. And getting flagged 7 times in college, that's like 14 times in the NFL, because you are not allowed.
21 if you're playing.
You are not allowed to touch anybody. I don't know, not anymore. Aaron Rodgers in there.
Yeah, so, you're right.
We'll see who's getting those. I think Kirk Cousins might be getting those calls now, in those games. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But Blackman, I think like everyone's just penciled him in as like he's gonna be a day 1 starter and everything. He's got talent, but he's got things that could go against him as well, like his size and his aggressiveness. So like, and the Vikings want Andrew Booth Jr. to play. They want Caleb Evans to play. So like, they don't need to be in a rush to get Mekhi Blackman out there. I know he fits Flores' scheme or whatever, but like, go with the guys that are not gonna, because he could be great as a run stuffer. He could be great in man coverage, but if he draws a flag and the other team gets goal to go situation, who cares if he was great in man coverage? Doesn't matter. So that reminds me of like Xavier Rhodes, his first year. I think he had like 11 penalties or something like his first year.
It was rough.
and then they put like the boxing gloves on him during training camp, and he figured it out thanks to Mike Zimmer. Maybe they'll bring Mike Zimmer back as a senior defensive consultant. Because the Broncos brought back what's his name, Van Joseph. So no, probably not.
It would be like the scene in Dumb and Dumber where they run into Seabass in the bathroom stall. Like Kirk is just sitting there. All of a sudden, like the door kicks open. Mike Zimmer's just standing there.
No, it would be. I think Brian Flores will probably be gone within a year or two, and I feel like there's gonna be some people who are like, why don't they bring Mike Zimmer back? Like he's not gonna go anywhere. He's old, but I don't know.
He probably doesn't want to come back here
he's
either.
got enough. I think his contract runs for like another year or two. So he doesn't have to worry. He's not have to worry about money or anything. But
did he accept the DC job at Colorado, or did he?
I don't know.
Decide
everyone's leaving there, so I don't know.
Is he just on the bat phone for Dion? Just like,
yo,
Coach Zim, what do I do about these corners, man?
I don't know what's going on with Dion. Something. It's they're selling a lot of tickets. I'll give them that. They're selling a lot of tickets out there. So that's what the university wants.
By the might not move.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Mekhi Blackmon. Like I know a lot of people are high on him. Like he's a steal, and I'm like especially PFF. Of course, PFF's high on him because he did great with their metrics. Of course, they're gonna be like he was great. But so I just would like to put the caution flag out there for him because sometimes we get excited about these. We just look at PFF grades and we're like, oh, he's gonna be awesome. And it's like, let's see how he does in training camp and everything against guys that are 30 pounds heavier than him. Because receivers, put him against DK Metcalf, he's gonna throw him around like a rag doll. So let's wait a minute on him. That's gonna do it for us today. The schedule will be released on Thursday. So we'll have to figure out what we're doing for that because it's gonna be released like at this time on Thursday. Yeah. So maybe we'll do a little live reaction or something like that. But the schedule will be released.
I did see some of the from like 6:15 to 7.
Yeah,
just like waiting on that schedule to drop. Waiting on that schedule to drop.
I will. I know there's some new rules too. Like there's gonna be a Black Friday game. Teams can play twice on Thursdays, which is not cool. There's some and the games aren't restricted. Like cage. Yeah. Dan Campbell is gonna go and he'll be first in there. He'll be like, who wants some of this? Dan Campbell and Pete Carroll, they'll be first in the steel cage, and Pete Carroll will take his shirt off. So, that'll be interesting to see. It's always fun to see the schedule because you're just like, all right, getting close to the season. First game of the year, I think is probably going to be Packers. I just think they'll figure out a way to
here or there.
People. Oh, here they
feel like it would be.
They always have to go to the Packers when it's cold. Nah. I would like that because I like going.
We've hosted the Packers on week 1 like 2 of the past 3 years, right? So I think we'd go there.
Run it back. Be fine too. I like when they go to Green Bay earlier in the season because it's not cold and Kirk Cousins doesn't get flustered, and they're not slipping because they decided to wear different cleats than what everyone told them to do.
I can't put the logos on them, Coach.
Yeah. Sorry, they're functional. But they don't look great. Sorry, guys. All right, let's get out of here. Follow or subscribe to the YouTube page while you're on here if you're watching on YouTube. Like the video. Follow Vikings on Twitter and Facebook, and then the audio version of this podcast will be available in the morning on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your podcast. So until next time on Thursday, Chris and I talk to you later.